Hey, welcome to another Technology Paul video. I've got an interesting video for you today. We're taking a fresh look at the PlayStation Portal in 2026. You know, when this device originally came out, I was pretty skeptical. I was actually all for a Sony PlayStation handheld console. I figured that would be a massive hit and a console I'd personally really enjoy. But when I found out the Portal was just a device for remotely playing your console, I was disappointed. I thought to myself, no way, man. Cloud gaming sucks. I'm not gonna mess with this thing. But recently I found myself thinking about trying it out. I've been wanting to play more single player games. There are some great games out there, or that are coming out, and I wanted to give a try. But the truth is, I just hate the idea of sitting in front of the TV in the basement for so long. While I play these games, I like to be around the house, being able to converse with my family, or even play a multiplayer cross-platform game side by side with my son. We have a Nintendo Switch too, so he could be on the Switch while I'm on the Portal, playing games like Minecraft or Fortnite. It seemed like a compelling proposition. The last thing I want is to be stuck down in the basement. So here I am. I decided to give it a try. A little behind the times. The Portal has been out for a couple of years now, but Sony has also had time to refine the experience and make it as good as possible. This should serve as a good benchmark for 2026. Is the Portal a good device for today's PlayStation gamer? Let's find out. All right, so let's start from the top. The first thing that impressed me was the feel of the device and the overall build quality. I know it looks like someone just took a PS5 controller, halved it, and slapped this screen in the middle, but it feels like a much more intentional device. It's got sort of a unibody form, and it doesn't feel flimsy at all. Even while the screen feels and looks thin and sleek, the 8-inch 1080p display looks sharp and crisp and has great color. I think maybe the only real compromise on this device is the size of the joysticks. These are definitely smaller than the standard PS5 controller joysticks, so naturally they won't perform as well. I totally get it, they probably need to be smaller given the device's form factor, but they're still functional and smooth. All right, let's get into connectivity. The number one thing you need to know about this device is that it won't do anything while offline. You need to have a Wi-Fi connection, and I think arguably that Wi-Fi connection needs to be solid. You are connecting remotely to your PS5 here, so it will need to stream a lot of high quality video with low latency back to the device. Portal supports the Wi-Fi 5 standard. It doesn't support the newer Wi-Fi 6 or even Wi-Fi 7 standards. If Sony ever refreshes this device, I'm sure it will update the Wi-Fi standards. That's something to keep in mind as a limitation to the current model. If you have a solid 5 GHz Wi-Fi band at home, it shouldn't be an issue for you. And then there is audio connectivity. And this is what got a lot of people annoyed when this thing first came out. It does not support Bluetooth audio. It only supports Sony's proprietary audio connectivity standard called PlayStation Link. The Bluetooth headphones you were hoping to use with this are not going to work. Now, they do include a 3.5mm headphone jack on the back of the device, so there is that. But honestly, that's kind of annoying to use. I tried some wired earbuds and got annoyed in like 5 minutes because the cable just kept getting in my way. So what did I do? Exactly what Sony wanted me to do. I purchased the PlayStation Pulse Elite headphones that use the proprietary Link technology. While I hate that it has to be this way to some degree, I understand Sony's decision. Bluetooth and gaming don't always go well together. In fact, there's usually a noticeable amount of audio latency with standard Bluetooth headsets that just don't work well for gaming and lead to a poor experience for the gamer. With the proprietary Link technology, Sony can guarantee the experience because they've engineered a wireless technology with low latency. Plus, the experience of pairing the headphones to the Portal was easy and buttery smooth. The Elite headphones sound pretty good too. So honestly, if I were you, I wouldn't really plan on getting a PlayStation Portal if you're not also going to pick up one of Sony's PlayStation Link compatible headsets. It's just not worth it. Let's talk about performance. And this is the most critical part because the games need to play smoothly or it's just not worth it. And here's the good news. When I'm playing on my home Wi-Fi, this thing is almost flawless. I can play games with almost no noticeable lag. I have been able to see a few stutters here and there, most often when a game first gets loaded up, but then the performance smooths out to almost perfect quality. Even high fidelity games like Rocket League and Fortnite work really well, and these are games where you need fast movement and low latency. Now, I wouldn't necessarily want to play Call of Duty on the Portal, where latency is the biggest difference maker, but it's great that I can play even the most demanding of the casual games. I almost prefer gaming on the Portal versus my actual PS5 Pro, simply because while my PS5 is in the basement, I can game anywhere in my house with the Portal. And instead of a lean forward experience looking at the big screen, I get a lean back experience with the Portal. The only real limitation that comes into play at that point is battery life. You can expect a realistic battery life of between 3 and 4 hours, probably closer to 3. Now, for me personally, being a busy person, I don't usually even get 3 hours to sit down and play games. But what this means is that I need to plug it in every time between uses, because I might get the chance to play for a couple of hours, and if I used 50% of its charge in my last session, it wouldn't be long until the battery runs dead in the next session. Obviously, you can have it plugged in while playing as well, just as long as you have a long enough USB-C cable. When it comes to the PlayStation software, it generally works the same as it does on the PlayStation, especially since you're effectively remoting into your console. But there are a couple of differences to be aware of. For example, pressing the PlayStation button, which usually brings up the PlayStation menu along the bottom of the screen, actually brings up a side menu with multiple options on the Portal. It took me a while to figure out you can choose the PlayStation menu from here with another click. Secondly, there is no touchpad on the Portal like there is on a DualSense controller. The touchpad is used in a lot of instances in PlayStation games. Well, it turns out you can get a virtual touchpad here just by tapping the screen twice. This little clue eluded me for quite some time. I think I had to Google the solution eventually. Obviously, it's never going to be the same as the real touchpad on the DualSense wireless controllers, but at least you've got something. One other nice perk that's worth noting is the ability to still do voice chat and even Discord chat through the Portal, which I wasn't sure you'd be able to do. That's an awesome feature. Now, one thing I didn't really get to testing is using the Portal away from home on hotel Wi-Fi, for example. I just know that it wouldn't work as well. You need a strong broadband internet connection for your gaming to be buttery smooth. I will try this in hotel rooms and friends' houses, but my expectations are low. The main point of my buying the Portal was for playing it away from my TV and just around the house. So bear that in mind as you consider buying one of these. Tell me what you think. Have you tried the PlayStation Portal? Do you own one yourself? Are you considering buying one? Let me know what you think in the comments. If you're a subscriber to my channel, you might consider supporting my work further by becoming a channel member for just $2.99 per month. As a member, you get priority replies to your comments, 24-hour early access to new videos, and loyalty badges. Plus, it goes a long way to supporting my ability to make content. But if you're new to my channel, perhaps you'll consider subscribing, which is free. I post more content all the time, so make sure you don't miss out. Thanks as always, and have a good one. See you in the next video.